Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric, and today I watched Hell in a Cell 2020, broadcast on October 25th, 2020. I'm recording this right before I head into the Thunderdome yet again for Monday Night Raw. I was not in the Thunderdome for Hell in a Cell, but I was in there for SmackDown. I talked about that in the last episode a little bit. And I'm excited for tonight. I'll be on there from the beginning, so I'll be in there for the filming of main event, and so I anticipate just the beginning of Raw to possibly be in the virtual audience. But fingers crossed. Hopefully, I can get in there. All right, so Hell in a Cell. I loved this pay-per-view. So many awesome things happened. My predictions were fairly close, I guess. I don't remember exactly what I said. I might have said the opposite for I did say the opposite for some of the matches, but the two main ones I was happy with the results, but it seemed like some people are not so happy about their favorites losing their titles. But so if you haven't watched it yet, go watch this show. It was pretty awesome. We opened up with, the kickoff show was pretty fun. We had an interview with John and Miz, Morrison and Miz, and Morrison was saying, Otis is playing chess and we're playing shoots and ladders. And the interview, I forget who was interviewing. It might have been Kayla. And then he's like, well, that doesn't really make sense. And he's like, no, it makes perfect sense. If you think about it, go straight to the top. If you know what you're doing, it's really easy. And that is a great analogy. So awesome. I'm so glad that John Morrison is back in WWE this year. He adds so much joy to my watching of whichever show. He's on Raw now, but SmackDown all before that, so many. Hell yeah came from him and Miz. But anyway, on the kickoff show, we had Drew Gulak versus R-Truth for the 24/7 championship. R-Truth won, and then there's some fun little Jimmy stuff at the beginning, and Drew kicked him. It was really funny. Lucha House Party and Akira Tozawa chase after R-Truth, and then he runs past the panelist for the kickoff show and stuff. And then Drew Gulak says, his childhood hero John Cena sucks, and then the panels are like, no, nobody agrees with that. What are you talking about? That's pretty good. And then also on the kickoff, Ollie issued that challenge to the Hurt Business. It is up to the Hurt Business to choose who they want to challenge and who they would be fighting from the Hurt Business. And so they ended up later on in the match. I'm going to talk about that just first real quick. I didn't really think that this match needed to happen on this pay-per-view. It could have easily just happened on Raw. I felt like it didn't help. It didn't add to the pay-per-view. And without a live audience, there was no reason for a cool down match between the last two matches of the night. So yeah, it was a US title match. So at least there was another title match. But it was Bobby Lashley versus Slapjack. There's no way at all that Slapjack was going to win the United States Championship from Bobby Lashley. But we did get confrontation between the two. I hope that we get what I was hoping would happen, with that Hurt Business would reveal a new recruit, a woman joining their ranks, and that they would challenge Mia Yim / Reckoning. That would have been super cool to happen on a pay-per-view. But maybe they'll recruit so that they have 5 versus 5. They'll recruit a woman sometime soon here. It could be Naomi. Maybe who else is not in a storyline right now? They could recruit Asuka, get another champion in the Hurt Business. Who else? Oh, and then maybe Vanessa Bourne. She could make sense being there, or maybe even Mercedes Martinez, since she is no longer in Retribution. It would seem. I think she would fit in with the Hurt Business pretty well. Could see her wearing, although she did dump one suit man. I'm not sure if she'd want to go and be with 4 suit men. These suit men are, they take care of much more business than Robert Stone did. That's for sure. So, but maybe we'll see. if it's Mercedes Martinez with all of the Hurt Business like behind that, like how badass would that be? But I hope that happens so that it's Survivor Series. I'm talking about this a lot in this episode for being my least favorite thing about LNSL. But I'm excited at the possibility of what didn't happen at LNSL, what maybe could happen if Mercedes Martinez joins, or whoever joins. We have 5-on-5 Retribution versus Hurt Business in a Survivor Series match, but for the first time ever, perhaps, a mixed Survivor Series match, so that you have men and women on both teams. But with how they usually have those mixed tag matches, is that if a woman is in the ring, then they will, if they tag out, then their opponent also gets tagged out, which, when you think about it, is like, why would they go for a hot tag, like to get to tag at the same time when they automatically get the tag anyway? If their opponent, like, if you need to get out, let your opponent tag in, and then your teammate can just come in. You don't have to tag them. So I don't know. That's the one thing that, it's not the one thing that doesn't make sense a lot of time, but they forget about that. They don't need to have that same hot tag spot happen that you would in a regular tag team match. Anyway, sometimes they do factor that into what's going on. But the issue with that, if it's a mixed Survivor Series match, is that if one of the women gets eliminated, then the other one would have to be out. Otherwise, she wouldn't even be able to participate for the rest of the match, unless they change it so that they can. That you could end up with Mustafa Ali versus Mercedes Martinez as the like final showdown or something. They would have a fantastic match. But anyway, that's what I hope happens, is that it's Hurt Business versus Retribution at Survivor Series. That's got to be what they're working towards. Okay, so Hell in a Cell, the actual show, we open up with a fantastic match, Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Oh man, this match was really long, and I totally get the criticism of it being slow. Yes, it was slow, but I felt like it was the pace that it needed to be. And because it was one of only 5 matches on the main card, I think that that was totally okay. Because it was heart-wrenching at parts. I maybe teared up a little bit towards the end when Roman was tearing up and all of that. Like, I don't want to do this. You're making me do this. You're making me a monster. Why can't you just fall in line? And Jey just would not quit. He was out. Could not be able. Oh man. I get a little bit emotional just talking, and then Jimmy comes out when he's about to just destroy him. He's like, "What are you doing? What is this? Stop it!" And Roman starts crying a little bit and is like, I'm sorry. And then he grabs Jimmy and destroys him. And Jey wakes up like, "No, I quit. Stop, I quit," to save his brother. Oh, it's so good. Oh, this match is so good. So mad. So Roman Reigns is still the Universal Champion. He's a tribal chief. Afa and Sika put the flowers around his neck. recognizing him as the head of the table, head of the family. Oh man, what a great story. Where does it go from here? I have no idea, but I am super excited to find out. But we'll have to wait till Friday. That's the bummer. That's the bummer of this being a SmackDown story, is that after pay-per-view we have to wait 5 days for the direct follow-up. Then we had Elias versus Jeff Hardy. Elias won when Jeff hit Elias with his guitar. Elias was about to hit Jeff with it, but Jeff countered it, grabbed the guitar, and hit Elias. So Jeff was disqualified. This is definitely not the end of this feud. Also, today is the release of Elias's new album, which is just 4 songs. That's kind of an album. But I guess it's pretty good. The cover, okay, Amazing Grace. It's the lyrics to Amazing Grace set to House of the Rising Sun. So I don't know if they can really get away with that, because House of the Rising Sun is public domain, but the version of it, I think it's the Animals version, or who plays with the arpeggios at the beginning of the guitar, all of that. I'm not so sure if that is that they can do that. I don't know. Maybe they can. That's the only song that I've listened to, and I only kind of listened to it. So maybe it's way different enough that it's okay. That's like super motif. But anyway, anybody who's not familiar with that House of the Rising Sun might think that it's some stroke of genius, and perhaps it is, to use it as the inspiration for this version of Amazing Grace. But to my very fond ear of that version of House of the Rising Sun, I say, they just changed the lyrics to that song. Anyway, up next we had Miz versus Otis for custody of the Money in the Bank contracts. Okay, I have not mentioned this on stream or anything. This joke made me laugh so much. Miz was trying to put like a sleeper hold on Otis, and Michael Cole said something like, "Oh man, that size surely has a sleep apnea." I don't think he didn't say it in that exact way, but like there was no reason to say that. That it was, but it was amazing. It was so funny, also very mean, but. Oh, it's still maybe I forgot about it until I saw it in my notes right here. At his size, he probably has sleep apnea. I think that's exactly how he said it. But Morrison got ejected from ringside at one point, but Tucker was still there. And Tucker hit Otis with the Money in the Bank contract, either a suitcase or the lunchbox, whatever he used. He turned on Otis. Miz got the win. Miz is now Mr. Money in the Bank. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Tucker is sick of supporting Otis, doing all the hard work, and all of that. And maybe he was if he was going to turn on Otis, well, I get he kind of did a mean thing to Miz as well to make Miz spend all that money. Tucker could have easily turned on Otis during the trial, and then the whole thing could have been avoided even more. I don't know. But maybe all the other stuff wouldn't have been successful if he had turned on him sooner. Otis attacks him backstage and they brawl. This might continue on Raw because Tucker is on Raw and Otis is on SmackDown. Maybe we'll see. I wonder what El Gran Gordo thinks of all of this. Maybe we'll see some follow-up from him tonight on Raw. Then we had the best match of the night. Insanely good. Even with some stuff not going like I admire the ingenuity and the attempt at the Darth Maul kendo sticks. They just kind of fell apart, and also maybe it was because she was so sweaty. The duct tape didn't stick together very well because it was all sweaty. That was another amazing moment. or Bailey is trying to undo work the duct tape. And then she asks the referee, she's like, I'm so sweaty. Can you do this for me? The referee's like, no, I can't do that for you. Oh my God. It was so funny. That was so funny. And then, yeah, it just kind of falls apart. It was like in Survivor when you have to tie sticks together to put it together. If you haven't practiced it, duct tape should work a little bit better, but if she was trying to use string to do that, it definitely would work. But I don't know what they were planning to, what the intent was with that, because a little bit later they like ended up over next to it, and it seemed like they're possibly going to do something with the dual kendo sticks at that point, but they just kind of looked at it and then like moved on, which I think it was fine that we didn't see whatever was planned for that, because I imagine it was probably pretty similar to what they had already done earlier in the match, which was awesome, with the kendo sticks propped up between the steel cage and the steps, like into that between in the handles of the steps and stuff. Because that part was brutal. I can't imagine whatever they're going to do with the Darth Maul sticks was going to be more brutal than what they already did earlier. So I think it was totally fine that we didn't see that. They did some stuff with the ladder there at the end. We had like a running ramp up a table into a meteor into the side of the cage earlier in the match. So many awesome things. And then right at the beginning of the match, just the hilarity of Sasha throwing or knocking the chair out past the cage as it was coming down. And Bale's like, no. Like that was her. There were a bunch of chairs in there too. It didn't really have to really specifically be that one. And then the ending. Oh my God, the ending. She was about to do the Bailey to belly with a chair so that Sasha would land on the chair. And Sasha countered that into a bank statement using the chair, having Bailey trapped inside and then like slamming down, kicking down on the seat to be further smashing Bailey inside of it. That was so badass. And oh man, I love this match. Was so good. It was so good. Best match of the night. Maybe one of my easily one of my favorite matches this year so far. And if this had ended the night, if there wasn't anything else after this, I would have been totally content. I would have said this pay-per-view was amazing. But there's still 2 more matches. We had Bobby Lashley versus Slapjack. I already talked about that. Bobby Lashley is still the United States champion. And then we had the main event, which was also really good. This match was great. I enjoyed it. I was really happy. Okay, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell, WWE Championship. Randy Orton wins after throwing Drew off of the table. He dodges a Claymore by just falling flat onto his back, so that Drew just goes flying clear over him. And then as Drew gets back up, he hits him with the RKO and wins. That was awesome. Also, he did get hit by a Claymore earlier, but it sent him, he continued his momentum to roll out of the ring. Randy Orton would have been done at that point. I think this is a great, this trilogy of matches, like now looking back on it, is like, has such a great arc to it. And I think it just feels like repetitive maybe because it's just been over such a long period of time, but it's like all 3 matches are so different. And like lessons learned in the previous matches by both of them. Like the first match between the 2 of them, they did not, at SummerSlam, neither of them hit their finisher. Drew McIntyre won via backslide out of, I forget what he was countering or whatever. So it was completely out of nowhere. Neither of them hit their finishers. And so there's reason to say, okay, well, if one of them is able to hit their finishers, then how will it end? And so that led to the ambulance match where they had to hit their finishers many times as possible to be able to take them out enough to be put into the ambulance. So it's a completely different kind of match. We had some cheating involved with the returning legends, but that was karma paying back Randy Orton. So that made total sense. So now this was like as much of a, like, even though it was a Hell in a Cell match, was still super over the top and ridiculous at times. It was like, it made sense for it to be the next step. This had to conclude this trilogy of matches. And I am like so excited that Randy won it, because I thought Randy was going to win at SummerSlam. And I'm not, Drew McIntyre, he's going to win it back. He's going to be like, okay, now I want a rematch, but with just a regular match. Let's go back to the basics. Maybe maybe it has to be a submission match so that they're both out of their elements. Neither of them have a submission finisher. Oh, that would be interesting. But anyway, new champion Randy Orton. My only gripe, I guess, with this match is that they did go up onto the top of the cage, on top of the cell, but I felt like they weren't really doing a whole lot. They didn't do a whole lot on top of there. They could have, the payoff to it was Drew getting sent off of the wall when they're climbing back down onto the commentary table. And I really feel like they could have done that without climbing all the way to the top. That could have happened like on their way up, if they had climbed up on the other side. So yeah, that's that spot was awesome, but climbing up and then back down, just kind of, whenever that happens, I just feel like, oh, well, okay, we're just going to both carefully climb back down when we realize, we probably shouldn't be up here, or that kind of thing. And then inevitably, I think it would be funny if at some point they go like all the way up to the top, and then like they like punch each other like once. They're like, let's go back down. And then they both like safely climb all the way back down. Nobody gets thrown off the top. There's no like risk of them like getting flung off the top at any point. They're both like, oh yeah, this is a bad idea. Let's take it back down to earth. But that wouldn't be the main event. That wouldn't happen in the main event. It would be so funny if it did though. So there you go. That's all about that. So new champions, Sasha Banks and Randy Orton. They are awesome. I'm so excited to see both of their reigns. The Miz now is the Money in the Bank contract. I could totally see him cashing in on Randy Orton, and then Drew McIntyre winning the championship back off of the Miz, or Randy Orton winning it back from the Miz immediately, getting him up to 15-time world champion. And then he's just one short of tying John Cena. And then at WrestleMania we get John Cena versus Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, triple threat, record breaker on the line. And maybe Ric Flair's in there too. Maybe it's a fatal 4-way, but then it might literally be a fatal 4-way. I don't want to see that happen to Rick. So anyway, if they all just lay down, if Drew McIntyre lays down for Rick, just like a finger poke of doom style, Rick doesn't have to do anything. He just puts his, he doesn't even get down on the ground. He just puts his foot on Drew's chest, and then Drew just laughs at the other two, like, ha ha ha, neither of you are going to get it. That could be pretty good. Anyway, all right, that's it. I gotta get ready to go into the Thunderdome, but I think this might be my favorite pay-per-view of the year so far, other than maybe one of the takeovers. But I would have to think about that. None of them jumped to mind like as an overall thing, In Your House was really good. But yeah, let me know what you thought by tweeting me at TIW Podcast. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more reviews. If you enjoyed this episode or anything else on the site, please share some links with your friends. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you like to listen. Stay safe, healthy, and happy out there in all the infinite multiverses. And I will see you next time here on TIW Podcast. Bye.